Everyone wants to take their business, their skills, to the next level. Small and mid-sized business owners have exceptional insight into how to do this. They endure and thrive because they find ways to overcome the challenges that come their way, and they can teach us valuable lessons to apply to our own companies and lives. Stephen Nunez, founder and owner of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. And Bob Gibbons, builder of Riata Commercial Realty, a real estate advisor and tenant advocate, are two prominent Metroplex businessmen who, along with their weekly guests, will ask their and your probing questions, finding impactful solutions that will help you reach for the next level. Here are your hosts, Stephen Nunez and Bob Gibbons.
Welcome, everyone, to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. I'm your host, Stephen Nunez.
And I'm your other host, Bob Gibbons.
Lesser, more, I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm certainly the lesser, I'm sure. Depends on how you do today, whether or not Jack comes in and grabs your neck.
Well, you're going to be real excited because I'm going to read our guest bio.
Oh, I love it when you read things.
Yes, yeah. No, I'm really excited for our next leveler today. That's what you become when you're a
leveler.
Guest on the show, a leveler.
Next leveler.
My very, very good friend and advisor, Terri Maxwell, is here with us. She is the CEO of Share on Purpose, a purpose-focused sort of incubator holding company responsible for launching dozens of meaningful ventures. She's also the founder of Succeed on Purpose, a training platform helping entrepreneurs turn their purpose into businesses and professionals find purpose in their work. And if that wasn't enough, that was not enough, she also has created Ignite on Purpose, which helps owner-led companies like Alkali shoot for the stars and help transform their industries. What I would say about Terri as a client and having her as a friend is it's not what she does, it is how she does it. Terri's one of the most servant leaders I've ever met. So really excited to have Terri here today. Welcome, Terri.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad you're here. Well, we always start off with wisdom from others, and we, of course, ask our guests, our next levelers, for a quote that they like, and then usually Stephen and I will come up with one or two of our own, and then we kind of have a little battle to see whose quote wins. And today, Terri, your quote won. So we're going to read your quote, and what's most cool about your quote, it's that it's from your grandfather,
right.
Eldred Fry, and he said, "Value wins, give more than you receive." Why has that stuck with you for so long?
I think it was the moment he said it and then the meaning it's had in my life. So it's both the moment and the meaning. The moment he said it, I was scared. I'd moved from one industry to another. I didn't know how I was going to do what I had been hired to do. And I'd stretched beyond I'd outkicked my coverage, if you will. And I was freaking out, calling him as I always did on Sunday when I was worried. And he just said, "Value wins, just give more than you receive." And it was so simple but so pure. And the very next day when I went to my first day, quote unquote, on the job after having gone through training, I got scared right away and I just thought, wait, value wins. How can I add more value? And I just did that. And I had an incredible career with that company and it became my motto for business.
Very cool. A lot of people talk about value propositions, but they don't always live it, do they?
And if you just keep that as the core of your DNA, just value wins, just give more than you receive, everything's easier.
I love that.
Well, and a lot of times what I love about it is people are focused on the value proposition, right? And then that's the overall, a lot of times that's a lot more broad, but value wins can be in just the moment.
It is in the moment, and it's in the way you serve and the way you think about your business and just find ways to add more value. And if you think of every great brand that's become great, that's really what they've done.
It's the moments, right?
Exactly.
So Terri, tell us, I know you pretty well, but why don't you share something with us that maybe not everybody knows?
I was adopted, so I was given up for adoption, and ironically, I was adopted by a family who both my parents were alcoholics, and I was abused in every way possible. And that very difficult life where I was born into one family, but I was given up and put into another family. At the time, it seemed like the worst possible thing, but it truly was a very God-inspired way to prepare me for what I was destined to do. And so those difficult 17 years of life, I left home right after my 17th birthday and moved out to try to find my own way. That really groomed me, I think, to have incredible perseverance and to believe that no matter what, if I just focused on what I was called to do and how could I add more value, I could overcome anything.
That's a pretty incredible perspective on that upbringing. So many people don't have that.
Right.
This is what prepared me for where I am now, or what I was destined to do. How do you end up with that mindset, or is that just something that was born into you?
I think it was both. I mean, I think the ingredients were there. I was very fertile because I was very divinely connected at a very young age. We never went to church, but I really felt that presence from the beginning. And I think it was people like my grandfather. He left me these nuggets of wisdom, and I have about a dozen of them that I put together in my first book. And one of them was, of course, value wins. Another is you get what you focus on. And he just constantly was showing me how perspective is everything. Just change your perspective. Look at it differently. What are you focused on? Are you focused on what's not working or what happened to you? Or are you focused on how you can use it to become better? And that notion of just figuring out that you could shift your focus to learn how to use a difficult circumstance to make you better really, I think, helped me become the person I am today.
What's the name of that book?
Succeed on Purpose.
Shocking.
So
everything about you has the word purpose in it. So
Yeah.
tell us about your companies. You have a lot of different companies. Stephen referred to a couple of them on the intro, but give us sort of the big picture of what all you do and how it all came together.
I think I'll start with how it came together, because that's really, I think, how it's turned into what it is. I found my purpose right after the internet company that I was president of. We had done an IPO, and then Prodigy bought us, and then AT&T bought them. And so I had this incredible rise of my career, and then the dot-com crash kind of took me down to my knees. And then we were acquired, and, you go from being somebody you think is cool to I'm out of a job like everybody else. And I brought in an expert to help my employees find their purpose. I thought that'd be a great way as we're transitioning out after this, rough takeover. It was a takeover. And lo and behold, I found my purpose, and it was to inspire potential. And the moment I said those words, I'm like, this is what I was designed to do. And then I wandered around like most people do, couldn't figure out what to do with it. And then I tried to make everything that made me money fit my purpose. I looked, totally backwards. And then I built this successful marketing consulting firm, which I sold in the spring of 2008, which was great timing. And I kept trying to make what I was great at, which was marketing, fit my purpose to inspire potential. And it was almost like that round peg, square hole thing. It just didn't fit. And so that after I sold my company and I kind of began to get clear, I thought, you know what, from this point forward, everything I'm going to do is on the purpose. How can I inspire the potential of companies and entrepreneurs and people? And I just started from that premise. We, started kind of throwing mud at the wall. I can do this, I can do that. And eventually it turned into a portfolio called Share on Purpose, where we start with an idea that's meaningful and we buy a company or two and combine it with that idea and then turn it into some type of an entity that's doing things different. And it's very experimental. The first couple of years, it takes us about 2 to 3 years to really get it right. And then once it's right, it's pretty predictable and it's a great brand and it's making a difference. And so that's how I got to here.
Would you share, just an example of making a difference? So what that looks like versus the traditional business model? Yeah,
so I'll use Ignite as an example, which is focused on founder-led businesses. We will not work with venture-backed companies because we want to work directly with the founder. And a founder, they go through about 4 phases before they actually have the wealth from their business that they dreamed about. And so in the early phase, we're doing the blocking and tackling. So helping them create demand, helping them optimize their sales force, helping them put the infrastructure in place to scale that business to around $5 million in annual revenue. And that is a lot of blocking and tackling, but the purpose and the discipline with which we bring to that is key. In the 5 to 10 million, it's really about scale. How do you set this up? How do you use virtualization technology? How do you build a management team that may have not necessarily come from the bootstraps of that company? How do you find the right people? And so 5 to 10 is a little bit different. And so we our secret sauce is that we have mastered these inflection points that business goes through, and we know that what you need to go from 2 million to 5 is not what you need to go from 5 to 10, and you need something totally different to go from 10 to 20. And so it's really applying strategies to a business at the level that they're at to get to the next level.
Does that vary by industry?
No, it doesn't.
Really?
This is fascinating. I've done a lot of research on this. People, you can tell a lot about a person's maturity by their age. With businesses, it has nothing to do with industry or age. It has to do with your revenue level. So I can take a business that's been in business for 2 years, that's $1 million business in one industry, another one that's been in business for 10 years. They have the exact same issues, the exact same scale issues, and it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter if it's manufacturing or tech or insurance. When you're around 1 million trying to get to 2, you have the exact same issue as another business that might have been there for 10 to 20 years. It's the exact same issue.
And it's the same thing if it's business to consumer versus business to business?
Doesn't matter.
Really?
And now, the tools that we use to solve the problem are different if it's B2B versus B2C.
Right.
But the thinking, the things that you need to put in place are exactly the same. And that's, I think, one of my God-given gifts is that I'm able to see things, almost like that, have that ability to look at something and see what they have in common. And that was when I was doing consulting. I was like, wait a minute, this business has the same issue as that business, but they're old. This one's older and this one's younger. Why is that? Well, it's because of the revenue level.
Interesting.
Yeah, and what I think is also fascinating is that, I know because I've sing your praises. You've been a definite blessing to Corey and I in Alkali. Is when I've made introductions, not everyone is a right fit for you guys.
That's right.
And you stick to that. And,
we do.
And tell the audience, share with us, what is it that you're looking for?
3 things. So, and I need to put this in context. Is it okay if I put it in context? So, we're also very forward-looking. Mm-hmm. In the next 5 years, there's going to be a pretty massive overhaul that's going to be economic-driven of business, and analysts are predicting 18 to 22% M&A activity, merger and acquisition activity. And when you really kind of peel that, that's unbelievably high. The highest it's ever been is 8 to 10% during, a major market crash. 18 to 22% across all of the industries. Healthcare, they're saying, is going to be at the top end of that. When you really peel that back, there are these forces that are impacting businesses that are going to transform them. So we want to bet on companies that have decided to innovate rather than exit. And so we're very selective. They need to be founder-led, they need to be innovative, and need to be trying to be the best in their industry, and they're betting on their ability to ride that out.
That's awesome. All right, we're going to go to a break. Before we do, what are the 3-year aspirations of Terri? The answer might surprise you. Stick around.
And now, Confessions of a Recovering Landlord.
This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and I am your recovering landlord. After 20 years as a landlord, I now use that experience only for the benefit of companies that lease or buy office buildings and warehouses. Today's confession: knowledge is power. We all negotiate from a position of power and strength, or at least we want to. In any negotiation, the party with the most knowledge probably has the upper hand. And landlords count on this being the case whenever you're negotiating a lease, because most landlords are professional real estate investors and they hire professional leasing agents and property managers. Landlords are in the market every day negotiating leases, while tenants probably only negotiate 1, maybe 2 leases every few years. So tenants feel outgunned. Don't let landlords have all the power. As a former landlord for 20 years, I understand how landlords think and what motivates them. So let me put that knowledge and experience to work on your side of the negotiation. To learn more, contact me at TexasTenantRep.com. Again, that's TexasTenantRep.com.
Have you started making plans to take your business to the next level in 2016? Hi, I'm Stephen Nunez, founder and CEO of Alkali. We have a trademark process called the Empowered Advantage that enables CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to more effectively buy and manage their insurance. Before sitting down to make your plans for the new year, here are just a few things to consider. Would you say that you have an actual insurance strategy, one that you can articulate, or have you just purchased a policy here and there over the years? If you have an insurance strategy, was it discussed under the pressure of a renewal deadline or considered earlier in the year to avoid fire drill decision making? If your answer was no to either of these questions, then you may not have the right partner on your team. Visit alkaliservices.com to contact us and take the next step to a bigger and better future.
Hi, this is Jessica Nunez with True Point Communications, and I just had a great interview with Bob and Steven on the next level. I hope you can listen to our show and hear how blondes really are smarter than brunettes and redheads.
Welcome back to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. We're here with our guest, Terri Maxwell, CEO of Share on Purpose, and you can find her on the web at shareonpurpose.com. Welcome back.
Welcome back. So, Terri, I think you alluded to this a little bit before, and I know we've discussed on a high level, you're really into studying different trends. And I know that you've been talking a lot about the changes that are going to occur just even now between now and 2020.
And you can see little seedlings, if you will, but there's a generational shift. And economic power is moving to millennials, and they purchase very differently. They're motivated very differently. And because they make purchasing decisions very differently, you're going to see this trickle-down effect that'll start with consumer packaged goods and then anything that's affecting the consumer and eventually to the supply chain and to B2B. And they purchase based on meaning and purpose and authenticity. So advertising is not effective with them. Mm-hmm. They're very relational, even though most people think they're stuck in their phones. They have no idea that they are actually great listeners, and they are very relational. They'll take their friend's advice over something before they'll ever take an advertorial. So that's the first one. And the second is there's a real and quantifiable shift towards purpose, meaning, and authenticity in the workforce. And so in addition to those millennial workers choosing work differently mm-hmm. and choosing making purchasing decisions, companies are choosing to be more purposeful and more authentic. And one of the analysts that I follow said that there will, by the end of 2017, there will be 100,000 companies that offer meaningful work, that have repositioned their business to offer meaningful work. That's huge. And then the last one, and probably my favorite trend that really has my attention, is businesses are unconsciously, and they're doing it mostly unconsciously, they're making a decision to either innovate, exit, or die. Mm-hmm. And they're most of them are doing it unconsciously, and we want to kind of be a force to help people say, you need to make that a conscious decision because your choices are going to be very compressed based on this economic turmoil that we're getting ready to go into.
Can you give us any examples of those?
My favorite is Ford. So we all remember what happened in 2008. And again, I got lucky because I saw it just slightly before it happened, and I sold my business. We never would have survived that had I not done it. Well, Ford took the bailout that the automobile industry was given, and rather than just use it as a bailout, they used it to completely reinvent their company. They no longer consider themselves an automobile manufacturer. They consider themselves a mobility tech company. And they used that bailout, and they used the last 5 to 7 years to completely transform their business. They are now selling mobile telephony products to other car manufacturers. In addition to still having very innovative vehicles roll out, they're now selling what they learned and what they innovated, and they have all of these investments in these other companies. They're basically a holding company now of all of these investments in mobile technology. I mean, it's beautiful. That's the type of way that you've got to think to navigate these waters.
Incredible that we're able to do that on such scale.
And that's the thing. That's why we're also betting on small businesses, because it's a lot easier to innovate, when you're under 10 million in revenue. But, as a $1 billion business, they were able to completely transform their business since 2008.
Why do you think that is? I mean, obviously, the focus becomes a lot on scale, but is that the sole reason that 10 million plus, the innovation?
Well, I think, one, it's leadership. So a leader is either motivated internally or externally. Mm-hmm. And I think small business owners have a lot more intrinsic motivation. When you're, and I was one of those executives, we were not that big, but as president of an internet company, all of my rewards were tied tied to extrinsic. So what's happening on our stock price? What's our revenue? And so when your rewards, it's Pavlov's dog. When your rewards are tied to those external rewards, your behavior tends to mirror that. An entrepreneur, it's about winning, and it's about building a company that you can be proud of. And so that internal aspect, I believe, makes it easier to innovate from an authentic way.
So what's your biggest challenge? I mean, everything you do is about purpose. The companies you work with, I assume the people that work with you in your companies, therefore, also have to buy into that purpose. So what's the big challenge you have?
Yeah, our biggest challenge is finding people that are both, that they want the intellect, they have the intellectual firepower to be innovative, because the tools that we're applying today are changing dramatically, and you've got to be quick and you've got to be able to learn and apply. And finding people that want to do purposeful, meaningful work. And that, I thought, because I was one of those people, surely it's easy to find them. We find one or the other. Either they're motivated by how innovative we are, the purpose they want to throw aside, which makes us not authentic,
right.
Or they're really motivated by, wow, this is a place that I can come, and it's a supportive culture, and there's a lot of hope and a lot of optimism, and I can do work on my purpose, but they don't have that sharp, innovative edge. And so we probably hire one of about 100 people that we talk to, because we need to have both.
1 out of 100.
1 out of 100.
Is that different based on where the candidate comes from?
I wish I had that secret sauce. There's 2 things I want yet to invent. One of them is that, and the other is giving me an extra hour in the day. When I do that, I'll let you know.
So do you have does anybody criticize you with the idea of that you're so purpose-driven, and yet you're still trying to grow businesses to make money and, dirty money?
You have no idea. When I started this, all of my friends the majority of my friends were more business-focused, more corporate-focused. They thought I was nuts. And now that we're as far along as we are, they're like, that's kind of cool. And then conversely, a lot of the people I think that have that more purpose, spiritual aspect to them are like, well, it's still business. And eventually I think people, particularly I think when the millennial when their purchasing power really hits, and we really understand that it's not a fad, that they really are like that, I think, I will have been proven for sure to be right.
One of the things that I've heard Dave Ramsey talk about, we're endorsed by him. He talked about when they were small and they were really driven by like the purpose. They're still equally as purpose driven, but when they were helping a few hundred people, everybody was cheering him on. Yay, you're the greatest. Oh, And then now that he is a national, sensation, he's this evil, and he's helping so many people
that's
more.
That's the way every business is. It drives me crazy because here, people are yelling at Bill Gates because he's worth billions of dollars, but were they stupid enough to overpay for his products? No, they thought that was a great deal.
Right.
Obviously, it was a fair transaction. It's just when you aggregate all those, suddenly you're now the bad guy.
But I think the distinction is like Bill Gates. Now he's very, very about purpose. But Microsoft, my impression of their brand was never that it's a purpose-driven company.
No, it was.
When you tie. You're saying it was?
I am saying it was, because they were providing tools for businesses that the businesses need and were willing to pay for. So it was a purpose in providing those tools.
Sure.
And those businesses and those individuals were willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
And each individual transaction was fine.
Right.
It's just when you aggregate that and it suddenly makes him worth tens of billions of dollars that everybody gets all ticked off at him.
Well, and I guess what I was saying is that my impression is that it was a tactical innovation. That was more like their deal. Maybe they said
but that's
their
a purpose.
but they weren't marketing themselves as a purpose company. What I think is whether it's Dave Ramsey or what you're up to, Terry, the more that you have success, you're probably going to have people that turn on you because you've tied purpose to what you're doing, right?
I like, again, and again, 5 years, 10 years, we're going to have this conversation and we're going to see, but I'm betting on it. I bet my fortune on it. I believe this is where the world is going. And I think it's important to distinguish what purpose means. What purpose means to me is being who you are and doing what you're called to do. Whatever you believe that to be.
Sure.
And I think Microsoft was purpose driven because they did what they were called to do, and they saw a world where technology applications on your computer could change the way business was done, and they were influential in doing that. They did what they were called to do. The second thing I think purpose is just being authentic, just being who you are, and not marketing. We call it authentic promotion is one of the things that we do. Marketing has gotten such a bad rap because I try to convince you that we're better than we are, or that we're something we're not. When you really use marketing techniques to promote an authentic company, it's effective because it's authentic promotion, and that's what all I think purpose is.
I agree. Yeah, because so often people think of purpose as only if you're somehow a charity,
right,
in that classic
I get
term.
That all
so
the time.
The Tom Shoe people, well, they're purposeful, but Jimmy Choo's, or I don't know, pick a name. My daughter loves Jimmy Choo. So
Bob wears them occasionally.
I've got 12 in my closet. Somehow they're not purposeful because they just make frivolous stuff for rich women.
Yeah,
and that's crazy.
And it has to make the world better, not necessarily charitable. But if you look at every company that now, in retrospect, you can say, wow, they're purposeful. They innovated their space and they provided more value. Right? They really made the world better because they did something different. Apple is a purposeful company in spite of the fact that Steve Jobs' leadership styles had left a lot to be desired. But he was very purposeful about the way that they applied technology to consumer issues.
Well, and even just locally, grocery stores. I mean, is every grocery store equally purposeful? I don't know. But the Minyard stores, small local chain, one of the sisters a long time ago was asked, why didn't you sell out to some bigger chain? And she said, because if I did that, a lot of my employees would lose their jobs.
Right.
And my purpose is to have a family which includes all of those people and the families that they support.
Right.
And if we sold out, that'd be gone.
And bigger is not always better, because you can hit a market niche more authentically with a smaller business, as long as you stay true to whatever that path is.
Terri, what's next? We're 3 years from now, looking back to today. What needs to happen for you to be satisfied with the progress you've made?
I think 3 years, the window's a little short because I think we're going to see, 16, somewhere between 18, 19, and 20, we're going to have another crash, and all of the analysts are predicting it. So I think what I would say, whether it's 3 years or 5 years, one, we will have navigated the market turmoil successfully and ethically, and taking care of our people that have chosen to stake their careers on what we're doing. Second is we will help our clients navigate that transition by helping them innovate authentically and prepare their company for whatever is on the other side of this. And I think third is, I'm going to have a show, and it's going to be a television show on the Oprah Network, and it's all going to be it's going to be like Shark Tank meets Purpose, kind of like that, or Apprentice meets Meaningful Work. It's going to be something along those lines. That's really what I would like to do on the other side of this.
That'd be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
I thought at one time about starting a magazine on philanthropic entrepreneurship. People starting things for charitable purposes. I never did it, but anyway, we'll have to talk about that another time.
Bigger future, Bob. I'm excited to have a front row seat. I believe with you it's going to happen. Thank you for everything. Thanks for being with us today on the show. If you'd like to connect with Terri, and thank you to the audience as well, please visit succeedonpurpose.com.
Or shareonpurpose.com, because there you can see all of the companies and brands she's involved with.
Good point. And then also you can connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn,
or our website, which is nextlevelshow.com.
Yes, Bob, thank you. You just carry the show. Why don't you wrap up here?
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
You have been listening to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business with Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons. Join us every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for more prolific conversations that will take your business to the next level.